food is impacting your health more than you might realize. If we can connect to our food in a different way, the healing power and medicinal power of that food goes beyond just the vitamins and nutrients. We are what we consume.
There's such a strong psychological component that people have to tap into.
So I do think what you consume will dictate your genetic makeup. It will affect your genes.
Joining us today is Katie Ruffino, a nationally certified physician associate, founder of Sunnyside KT, and host of Katie in the Kitchen,
a wellness podcast where real conversations meet healing over food. She now helps women detox, restore, and reconnect through functional health and nervous system work.
Why do you think that you don't really see too many PAs going more into the functional medicine side?
When I got out of school, I decided to go straight into regenerative functional medicine because I didn't want to waste time. Most people who want to go into the medical field or help people with their health in some way think the options are limited, and not a lot of people are aware that there's another way.
You help women reconnect with themselves. How do you do that?
What I mentioned earlier about how health is not just about having a healthy body, it's about how do you live a fulfilling life. I help people to reframe their relationship with themselves and realize that you are worthy of being exactly as you are.
So what are some common myths about the functional medicine space?
That's actually a hard question. I think that...
Welcome to another episode of A Healthy Point of View podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tejada. And like usual, we're bringing experts from all over the world to talk about health, wellness, beauty, and mindset. Today's guest, I've been following her for quite a few years on social media, and she's doing some great things. The interesting part is I found out years later that when I started following her as a PA, physician associate, don't get it wrong because it's not physician assistant anymore, physician associate, she was only 23 years old doing what she's doing already today. She is touching people in so many different ways, internally, energetically, helping people really live that healthy, very well life that we're always talking about. Today, we have Katie Ruffino. Hey, Katie. Hey. All right.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Katie, Ruffino,
Yeah.
your family owns the wine?
Extended family out in
Extended
Tuscany.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's always like a lot of Dominican baseball players, a few with the last name Tejada, and everyone's like, "Oh, are you related to Miguel Tejada?" Like, yeah, somewhere down the line, you know.
Yeah.
Not enough to get any of his money though.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we're all related at some capacity,
Some
so
capacity.
yeah.
Right. Katie, so pleasure to have you here on a Healthy Point of View podcast.
Thank you.
And you have a very compelling story. But first, I want the listeners and viewers to really understand who is Katie.
Hmm. Man, it's such a loaded question, right? Because there's so many different parts of me that I could start with. I think what most people know me as is Sunnyside Katie, or that's the nickname that I've been given over the years. It was an Instagram handle that just came to me when I wanted to start my own page separate from my personal page back in high school. And it started off as being about cooking. I got into the health journey and learned about how food is medicine just through my own experience. And that inspired me to want to go down the path of being a practitioner in health. So a lot of people know me as the girl who is the chef, the creative cook, the medical personnel, and also somebody who sings, somebody who's creative and just goes with the flow of life and the sunshine to their day, to their life. And that's something that I really cherish and want to continue to do and be that. But where do you want me to start? Or I guess.
So, no, I mean, that intro is actually good. It actually brought up a quick question.
Yeah.
So, you sing, right?
I do, yeah.
So, when you're talking about cooking, do you ever
Mhm.
sing to the food when you're cooking?
I do actually. A couple of people have asked me that, funny enough. So I don't always sing to my food, but I do find that when you connect with your food in a certain way, whether that's through touching it, smelling it, through the process of cooking when you're chopping the fruits and vegetables, and honoring the food in a certain way, singing to it can actually also elevate the vibration of the food and connect to it. but it's something I think I sometimes intentionally do, but otherwise it's if I have a tune in my head and I'm just singing while I'm
Yeah.
cooking.
It's like you have the ability to actually like infuse some of that energy from
Mhm.
that singing into the food.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's one thing. I had a celebrity chef on the
Mhm.
podcast, and she was talking about how it's important to actually put that positive energy
Yeah.
into the food, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Katie, so you started as a PA as at a very young age,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
23. I mean, that's young to be a medical
Yeah.
practitioner. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know what it's about being young in the medical field with that type of responsibility. I
Mhm.
started at the fire department as a firefighter paramedic at the age of 20.
Mhm.
So, it's like you start thinking to yourself, especially today where I'm 38 years old, I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I was responsible for like someone who's actually dead and like their life is in my hands at age
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? Because that's pretty like most 23-year-olds
Yeah.
are not thinking about, hey, I'm a PA at 23.
Right. Yeah, it is a lot of responsibility, and just thinking about that right now is making me remember that it is a big responsibility, but it's also such a privilege to be able to help serve people in the ways in which I have been, and the ways in which you have as well, and so many people in the art of saving lives. And I think that from a very young age, I was very fortunate to know that I wanted to be in a position of serving others, whether that was in the medical space or in some kind of healing arts. And I have a grandfather who was a doctor. And
Oh, okay.
when I was very young, he understood or picked up on the fact that I was interested in the human body and how it worked.
Mm,
And ever since I was a young girl, I always had this fascination of life and how the human body works, why we're all here, and very philosophical, and my curiosity was profound enough for him to wanna nurture that,
mm,
and we always had conversations, over the dinner table about different bones in the body, and how the mind worked and the brain was the last frontier, and he was way ahead of his time, and I'm fortunate to have had a mentor who nurtured that at a very young age. And when I was growing up, I thought about what I wanted to do with my life. Did I want to go into the medical field or something else? And also, having been in the music industry in my own way from a young age as well, I was torn between, do I go the performance route or do I go the medical route?
right,
And what helped me to decide to go down the medical route was that I knew that singing and cooking and these different things could always be a part of my life. I didn't have to go to school
right,
for it to be in something I enjoyed, and how I could still use my voice in ways that were my own creative outlet and also as therapy. And I actually did end up working in a hospital to get some clinical hours to be a PA in musical therapy. And so I
oh,
did get to
really?
experience the power of healing.
That's
And
pretty
I
cool.
have a story I could share about that maybe. But with the reason why I really chose to go down the medical field is because I knew I had the support from my family. I had the desire to do it, and I know that it's a very rewarding field to be able to help people. And how I decided to go PA versus doctor is that I'm a very multi-passionate person, and I saw the ways in which my grandfather sacrificed to take care of his patients and his family, and he had his own medical practice. And I just knew I also wanted to be a mom. I knew I also wanted to have kids and have a family of my own, and I didn't want medicine to consume my life.
Right.
And as a PA, there's so much possibility. And I actually went and saw a PA myself when I was in high school, and she was the one that listened to me, had time with me. She listened to my concerns, helped walk me through the process if I needed any help. And I saw the doctor right after, and he was very quick to come in and out, and didn't really give me the time of day. And that was the only impression I had of PAs versus doctors when I was deciding what path I wanted to take. And the part that I love about medicine is actually connecting with people. And that was the part that I knew if I was a PA, I could have the ability to really connect with people on a different
Right.
level. And so then I went to school. I went undergrad in biomedical sciences at Marquette University, and was also
Oh,
fortunate
that like in
to
Milwaukee?
in Milwaukee,
Oh, yeah, I think you
Wisconsin.
told me that before, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ah, yeah,
yep.
I'm originally from Milwaukee, 17
Oh,
years.
that's right.
Yeah, I
I
grew up in
remember.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's
All right,
awesome. So you
Midwest.
know it well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and originally from Michigan, so I was always
Okay.
born and raised in the
You
Midwest,
know Dwayne
and
Wade went
oh,
to
yeah.
Marquette also?
So that's how I found out. That's the only thing I knew about Marquette
Oh,
was that he went there.
yeah.
And the PA that I saw the PA that I saw actually went to Marquette for the PA program as well, so
Okay.
that enticed me. So I went to undergrad for biomedical sciences, continued on through their accelerated program to become a PA through
Okay.
their master's program. And it was a 3-year program, but it overlapped with my senior year, which is how I was able to graduate at 23 with a master's degree.
Right. And
And
Marquette
yeah.
has a very nice like fine arts program there too.
Yeah, Marquette's an amazing school. I think that it was the perfect fit for me.
Right.
And what I love about that school, besides just being an incredible academic institution, is that the community and the alumni base
That's
of
awesome.
that school is strong. And I wanted to be a part of a legacy.
Yeah.
And I knew that it had a strong weight to the name that if you went to that school, you were well respected because you were trained properly.
Absolutely.
Especially the PA program, it's pretty well
Yeah.
ranked. So
Katie, let me ask you this.
yeah.
PA, right?
hmm
Why did they change it from physician assistant to physician associate?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different ways I guess I can answer that question, but I think that physician assistant, sometimes the assistant part, a lot of people will say physician's assistant as if the physician owns the PA or they're a sidekick. And they are, in a sense, an integral part of the medical team and do assist the physician. And I believe most states, if not all, PAs still need to be licensed and have a doctor overseeing or supervising their
Right.
work. Not that they're not independent. All PAs are autonomous to some
Right.
extent to make their own decisions, but they can do so much that a doctor can do, almost everything the same.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I think the shift from assistant to associate was important to better describe the role of the PA in the medical team and that they are associated with the physician and they're also very autonomous and
Right.
have a lot of credentials to be able to take care of patients independently.
Absolutely. I
So,
could see that for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Especially in our industry. I mean,
Mhm.
there's really not much that the physician associate can't do versus
Mhm.
the medical doctor.
Right.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
Um, you said growing up, your
Mhm.
grandfather,
Mhm.
right, who was the medical doctor,
Yep.
he kind of nurtured the process.
Yeah.
Was one of your favorite games that Operation game?
I did like that game.
Yeah.
It
I did too.
it taught me steady hands. I don't know if it'd be my favorite game, but I did enjoy
You
it. Yeah.
did enjoy it,
Yeah.
right? Awesome. Katie, so you have something that um, you know, interests is I became very interested in it, and it's something that you decided to do with your content,
Mm.
and it's Katie in the kitchen,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
What made you want to do Katie in the kitchen?
So, for those of you who don't know about Katie in the Kitchen and what it is, it's a cooking interview series in which I cook with people and I interview them at the same time. And I wanted to start a podcast of my own, and I love deep conversations. And I wanted to stand out. I wanted something that was fun and engaging. And I love to cook, and I wanted to teach people how to eat healthy in a way that was fun and creative and didn't feel like you were watching some old TV show,
The Food
the
Network type
Food
of deal.
Network. Not to say that Network is bad or anything. I actually love the Food Network and grew up on it, but I wanted something that was going to cater to the next generation.
Right.
And everybody's on social media, everybody's on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And so I started with creating a short interview series where I'd go to the grocery store and I'd come up to somebody and say, "Hey, what are you cooking today?" And they'd say, "Oh, I don't know," or "I'm cooking this," or "I need help with that." And I'd invite them to cook with me. And we'd go around the grocery store collecting all the ingredients, and then we'd go back to either my place or theirs, and we'd cook in the kitchen. And I just wanted to highlight who the person was, but also highlight the recipe and show that cooking doesn't have to be so complicated, and eating healthy doesn't have to be so hard or restrictive. It
Right.
actually can be easy and fun as long as you just know the ways to do it. And I had to learn through my own experience and finding recipes online, Pinterest, Instagram, all these different websites and cookbooks. And I wanted to also re-inspire people to connect with their food. And like we started talking about in the beginning, is that food, if we can connect to our food in a different way, the healing power and the medicinal power of that food goes beyond just the vitamins and nutrients that are in the food products.
Absolutely.
We are what we consume. We become that. We're communing with it.
Yeah.
And so when we give reverence to the food that we're eating and all the people that were involved in the process of cooking the food, and understand that food is life. Food is fun, it's pleasure, it's creativity, it's an art form, it's an act of love and service. And I wanted to highlight these different aspects of food in a show that was fun, where people were learning passively
Yeah.
just by enjoying and entertaining the content.
That's amazing. That's
So,
amazing.
thanks.
So when you cook, are you the type of person that cooks following a specific recipe and utilizing like measurement tools?
Mhm.
Or are you the type of person who's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 different answers to that. I think being Italian,
I was
I
just gonna say that the
gravitate
Italian is
towards
a little, the
a little
home
bit of
recipe, a
this, a
little
little
bit
bit
of
of
that, a
that.
little bit of that.
Yeah, I gravitate towards that, but I also have a type A personality part of myself that likes to follow directions, and I'm very task and 1, 2, 3 oriented.
Yeah,
So what I'll do is I will look at a recipe and I'll get a gist of what it is, and then I say, okay, I'll make it my way.
right.
And so then I put the Katie twist on it, and I'm not really measuring. And I think after, like anything, when you're learning a new skill, it's going to take a little bit more time and attention to detail in the beginning. But once you've done it over and over again, it's like muscle memory, and you get an idea of this is just how it goes. And so with cooking, I've cooked so much over the course of my life that I'm able to guesstimate what a cup is or what
Right.
a tablespoon is, or and also just using my palate. What I love cooking rather than baking, because when you're cooking, you can refine the ingredients and you can refine the dish while you're cooking, versus baking, you put the ingredients together, you put it in the oven and you pray that it turns
Yeah.
out right,
Well, see, like bacon is different.
Yeah.
That you have to measure
Mhm.
because if not, you're gonna
It's a
get some
chemistry
other kind of
experiment.
mush that'll come out instead
Yeah.
of a cake.
Right.
So that's
Mhm.
one thing I learned from my mother. She's like, because my mom was like, typical Dominican is like, they just cook by adding things on their
Yeah.
own, not really measuring
Mhm.
things. But
Yeah.
when it came to bacon, she would always measure everything. It's
Yeah.
just no, you can't play around with when you're baking a cake or whatever it is that they're baking. She says you can't mess around with that. So
Yeah, exactly. So and yeah, I think that not only are you putting in the ingredients, but you're also putting your own energy into the
right,
food you're eating. And I actually cater retreats. I cook for people in small retreats, and I've always gotten very positive feedback where it just tastes different. It's
that's
different
amazing.
than what people felt like they could have made on their own. And I've been always wondering about that. Is it the quality of ingredients I'm picking? Is it that I'm conscious of, what I'm putting into the food, or is it just that I'm having so much fun cooking and I love serving people because I get to share a part of me every time I put a plate in front of somebody, and I'm infusing that love and happiness into it.
Absolutely.
So,
So you
yeah.
mentioned that you kind of fell in love with cooking like
Mhm.
in high school, and you had
Yeah.
your own like health story that was
Mhm.
about you cooking healthy. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So I grew up with a mother who was health conscious. She was the mom who would go to the PTA at the schools and try to help the kids to not eat cookies for breakfast and rather have eggs or something
Is she
with
one of the
nutritional
Maha
value.
moms today?
I would say she is, but she doesn't call herself that. So, but I
Okay.
but I definitely learned from a young age that food is important. But she also fed us Eggo waffles and different sugary cereals, so
Yeah,
she wasn't so hyper focused on all of doing everything perfectly. But it did instill something in me at a very young age to know that health is important and food is important. And also being from an Italian family on my dad's side, I always knew that good food was really key to a good life.
yeah,
But when I was in high school, I started to get symptoms where I was having headaches during school. I couldn't focus. My energy was going down in the afternoons, and I just couldn't understand why. And I thought I was young and healthy and vibrant. I played sports, and something just felt off. One year I was giving up food for Lent, I ended up giving up processed foods and just
Mm,
wanted to try it. And I actually don't know why I did it. I can't even remember. I think it was just a feeling, like an intuitive hit that I had to do it. And I immediately felt incredibly different.
really?
And it was just as simple as cutting out processed foods. I didn't realize how many processed foods I'd actually been eating, but it was, Cheez-Its, goldfish, pretzels, cereal. It's just things that when you don't know how to eat otherwise, it seems normal to you. And the same thing happened where I didn't know how bad I was actually feeling until I started feeling good. And that was after I started cutting out these foods that weren't serving me. They were causing inflammation. And I know all these things now after researching, but back then I had no idea. And most people don't unless they take the initiative or have been informed by people around them that food is impacting your health more than you might realize. And
Right.
you can feel even better than you do now if you're doing the right things. And so that woke me up to explore that further. And so as I was continuing down this journey with food and I was like, wow, I'm gonna go for this because I see the benefit it's affecting me. I see the benefit it's giving me. And so I also thought that if I'm gonna do this, why not have fun with it? Why not get creative with it?
Yeah.
So that's when I really started to learn how to cook for myself and get creative with it. Started my Instagram and started to teach and help other people vicariously just by posting and informing people about the things I'd been learning. And so as I had gone through the beginning of college, once I graduated high school, went to college, I had to eat in the dorms. And I
Oh
was
boy.
like, this is not going to work.
Those like noodle packages
Oh,
that
no,
every
the ramen
college, the ramen
noodles.
noodles.
Yeah, and all
Yeah.
the fake meats and
Ugh,
you have no idea what the source of the food is there, and they use seed oils for everything. And this is when seed oils weren't even the worst thing that people
right.
knew about. But I would have gut issues. I'd feel bloated, I have irregular bowel movements, and again, the same thing happened where I felt like I couldn't perform well in school.
Wow.
And I thought, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to learn. I'm here to get a good education and perform my best. If I don't feel good, I can't do that. And I thought that I'm not the only one who's experiencing this. There must be other students that are
Right.
also suffering. And I would hear it from different friends that have the same problems. So what I did was I ended up going to the advisory board of the school and I told them, I said, this is unacceptable. We can't eat like this. It's just not going to serve the students. And if you care about us and you care about us getting good education, I think there's something to this and that we should make a change. And
Were
so
they receptive to that?
they were to an extent, but then once I kept coming to them with new student complaints and different things, then they were like, "Okay, this is serious. We need to start looking into this." And so
Yeah.
they brought me on their advisory board as a student advocate, and I helped them change the food system at the school.
Oh, nice.
And we brought in local chefs to also show the culture of Milwaukee and different restaurant owners to connect the students with the culture around the school and the city and they started adding allergy-free aisles where they were eliminating gluten and dairy and peanuts and different things that were common allergens to help give students options. And then they also did a couple other things for the food system, but I felt so empowered at that moment, and I felt, wow, like I feel like I can make a difference
That's
at the
amazing.
system level. And as we know with everything that's happening politically these days with the whole Maha movement, it is so rewarding to know that people are listening and people are standing up for the things that they believe in, especially around health. Because if you don't have health, you have nothing.
Right.
And health is something that a lot of people maybe put on the back burner until they're sick
Yeah.
and they don't realize how important it is until they don't have it.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
amazing that you were doing that in Milwaukee because I tell you, growing up in Milwaukee, the Midwest in general, Wisconsin,
mhm.
um, you know, healthy food wasn't that common, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. I mean, you'd go to
Yeah.
the state fair, they got fried everything, fried.
Mhm.
I think I ate there was a Krispy Kreme donut, chocolate covered bacon cheeseburger.
Oh gosh.
You know,
That's
it's
the
just
most
like
Midwest thing.
I remember going up there after I graduated high school and I went to the state fair and I
Mhm.
had one of those and I was like, man, this is the reason why people are so like obese in the Midwest. That
Mhm.
also it gets cold and people kind of
Yeah,
have comfort
and the
food and stuff.
drinking culture.
The drink culture is
Yeah,
crazy. I mean,
yeah.
beer's like a normal thing. They drink it like
Beer
it's
and
water.
cheese.
Yeah, the cheese curds, fried cheese curds.
Yeah.
So that's amazing that you were able to do that and bring that to the community in Milwaukee, specifically at the university.
Yeah.
Um, as a PA,
Mhm,
most PAs, and now you're starting to see a little bit of a shift, but most PAs
mhm,
go into a lot of the conventional traditional medicine. And then you see a lot of PAs go into aesthetics medicine, but you don't see a lot that go more into what you're doing, like a holistic health coach as a PA.
mhm,
Why is that? Why do you think that you don't really see too many PAs going more into like the functional medicine side? And what really, well, I kind of know why it got you to go that
mhm,
route, but what is like the main reason
mhm.
why you felt like, hey, this is where I have to put my expertise as a PA into the holistic health coach side?
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to that. I think to start, most people who want to go into the medical field or help people with their health in some way think Western medicine, doctor, PA, nurse practitioner, nurse. It's, and that's, the options are limited, and not a lot of people are aware that there's another way.
Right,
Thankfully, I had the awakening at a very young age to know that that there's so much more to health and healing than pharmaceuticals and surgery and chasing these symptoms and calling diseases what they are and then putting a label on something and then just mitigating those symptoms. And so when I did decide to go into the medical field, I always knew in the back of my mind that I was going to do something different. I always felt different, and not to say that I was better or anything than other people. I just felt like intuitively there was another way to healing, but I knew I also needed to learn about the system by going to school and learning how to speak the language, understanding what's going on in the medical system and how do I do it? And then how do I add my own flair? How do I then use what I'm learning and then add my own expertise or perspective or values or whatever it is to actually practice medicine in a way that I feel good about? And so I sought after extra training. Even when I was in my undergrad, I took extra nutrition courses outside of my degree just because I wanted to learn. I wanted to expose myself. I was listening to all the podcasts I could, reading all the articles because I had the desire and because I also knew how it affected me personally
right,
and how lost I felt going to the Western, like turning to Western medicine. And that's a story that so many people tell these days is they go to the doctor, they get the labs, they're told they're fine and nothing's wrong with them, but yet they feel like something's off. And I was one of those people. And I knew that I wanted to offer healthcare and healing in a way that people felt heard, they felt seen, and that there was more to the story. And that's where the functional medicine approach inspired me. And when I learned about it, I did have to seek it out. Once I learned about that, I ran with it
right.
because I thought there's no other way. You have to always ask why, why, why?
Yeah.
Why do you feel this way? What's causing that? Let's look deeper. And the more I'm a very deep thinker, so it was like a puzzle to me. And
Hmm.
I was the detective sleuth figuring these things
Cracking the
out,
code.
cracking the code to figure out what is the optimum way, the optimal way to healing, but not just to feel good physically, but how do you have a good life?
Right,
Because feeling good physically is one component of having a fulfilling life. And so yeah, so that's how I decided to go down the functional medicine route, and I think so many people are just unaware that that's even an option, and once they find out, there's also a lot of there's a lot of people who say who dismiss it, who might say, "Oh, that's the snake oil," or that doesn't work, or Western medicine is the way. It's what it's been done for so many years, et cetera, et cetera. But there's so many other cultures that have been practicing Eastern
oh
medicine,
yeah.
traditional Chinese medicine, and all these different modalities of healing for much longer than Western medicine has even been around. And I think we've gotten so far away from our own roots and our own connection to source that we forget that there's been these ancient practices and that have been going on for years that have been working. and we just lost touch with that.
Yeah.
And even the basics, eating healthy, sleeping well, exercising, getting sunlight, community, connection, like we're forgetting that if we just do the basics really good, we're way far ahead than most people who are doing all the biohacking stuff even.
Yeah.
And when I got out of school, I decided to go straight into regenerative functional medicine because I didn't want to waste time. I didn't want to go into the hospital or go into a Western medicine practice, even a specialty, to get experience, to then have to relearn and rewire my brain to revert back to the ways that I really believed in,
Yeah.
and what healing was, and not to discount Western medicine in certain conditions or aspects, because we need emergency medicine. We need surgery for certain conditions because they are life saving.
Of course.
Especially some of these pharmaceuticals, if somebody is having a very acute event, heart attack, stroke, things like that. But I think when it comes to chronic disease and actually taking care of yourself for longevity, to live a long and healthy, happy life, we have to do it differently. And I took a leap of faith to go in this route with medicine because I was getting a lot of backlash from classmates. People were saying, "What are you doing? You're crazy," or like, "You're so off the beaten path." But I knew that I had to follow what I believed
Yeah.
in. And the moment that I got out of school and went down this path and started to learn, like, to meet other people in the field that were doing it, had been successful, and meeting people like you, and all these conferences of people doing work that's actually reversing diseases and curing things, and helping people in all these ways, I was like, I want to be a part of that,
Yeah. It's a
whatever
beautiful
that
thing, right?
is.
It's a
Yeah.
very beautiful thing. It's extremely rewarding.
Oh
And
yeah.
I worked in emergency medicine as a firefighter paramedic, and
Mm-hmm.
I was a product to the broken medical system. So
Yeah.
I get it. Um,
Yeah.
so Katie, one of the things that you mentioned was that you took additional nutritional courses
Mm-hmm.
after PA school.
Yeah.
How much nutritional education do you get as a PA?
So when I was an undergrad, I did take a nutrition course, a very basic course,
Now, does every
and
PA have to take that nutrition course?
uh when I was an undergrad, I don't think that it was required to get my degree as a biomedical science major.
Okay.
But when I was in PA school, we did have a public health class in which we talked about health in the aspect of food. We talked about the very basics, though. It was like, processed foods are bad, eat as close to nature as possible. It wasn't going into nutrition the way that if you were to study functional medicine, for example, with IFM or AFM, all these different extended trainings,
Right.
it's nothing close to that. And but they do touch on it, and I got to give them credit for that. But to the extent at which I know nutrition now, they just like are like, save it for the nutritionist, save it for the dietitians, and that's where I think they're really lacking.
Mm.
But to be fair, they did go into it a little bit. I know medical school gets a bad rep for not teaching their students about nutrition, but I think they do a little bit. It's
It
just
just
not to
doesn't
the
go deep.
extent. Yeah, it's not
Right.
to the extent at which we could, in my opinion, should know about how food is medicine.
Right. It's a little bit different when you learn nutrition, not just to eat healthy, but like how does specific nutrients affect the body's biochemistry, right?
Mhm.
That's the difference where you're really at that point you're utilizing food as
Yeah.
medicine, right? Hippocrates,
Literally.
that's what Hippocrates would say.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things you said earlier, you're talking about how people can live a healthier, more happy type of life. And
Mhm.
you mentioned about getting sunlight, going out, exercising,
Mhm.
getting good sleep, doing all of these things.
Mhm.
And I know when I get interviewed a lot on the news, one of the things that get brought up is like, hey, I know you're in the functional medicine space doing the biohacking stuff.
Mhm.
Most people can't afford those things. And what you just mentioned, all of that stuff is free,
Mhm.
right? So, how much do you actually push those things in your
Mhm.
practice?
Every time I talk to a patient,
It's a
I'm
must, right?
it's a must, because if they're not doing the basics, why am I gonna put them through these expensive treatments? And so with the regenerative medicine that I practice, it's stem cell therapy, it's peptides, it's PRP, it's IV therapy, which you're very familiar with.
Hmm.
And these are expensive treatments. And there are some patients that come to me and say, I've done all those things. I just want to get an IV with some stem cells. Can you do that for me? And I'll tell them honestly and say, I can do that for you. And it's going to cost you a lot of money, but I can't guarantee you're going to get good results if you're not doing the other things like
Right.
eating healthy, sleeping well, exercise, lowering your stress, etc. Because those cells are going into your vessel and they got to know what to do and they got to have the proper nutrients and things to support their healing abilities. And so I'm telling every patient to do those things.
Yeah.
Now, some people will listen, some people won't. And that's okay. As long as I feel like I'm doing my job, then that's all I can do. And the rest is up to the individual.
Yeah.
But I do find that even if people have all the right information and they're like, yeah, I know I got to do all these things, it doesn't mean they're going to do them. And that was a key moment when I was practicing medicine as to why I decided to switch into more coaching, is because I knew that I could also serve people in a different way, that focusing just on the physical health wasn't cutting it. And that's where the mindset piece comes in. Because if somebody doesn't believe that they can be healthy, if they don't value their health or they don't value themselves or they don't feel worthy of that, they could try to, you could waste all the time trying to tell them all the right things to do, and they're just not going to do it
Right.
because it's at a subconscious level. And so when I figured that out, I was like, okay, I got to now go learn how to do that
Yeah.
and help people rewire their mindset. So that's why I went and became a master practitioner of NLP, or neuro linguistic programming, to rewire these
Yeah.
beliefs. And I've been having just sessions with people about that. In an hour time, they are crying, they're breaking, having these breakthroughs and realizing, oh my gosh, I've been burdening myself with all this pain and suffering about this negative belief that I had about myself and my health. And that's what's keeping me from losing the weight. That's what's keeping me from being healthy. That if I would have just let this thing go and realized that I'm loved, I'm worthy, it's okay, I can be me, I can do all these things, then it would have changed the game and it would have
Yeah.
saved them so much time and
There's
energy.
such a strong psychological component
Mm-hmm.
that people have to tap into.
Yeah.
And I've known actual functional medicine doctors that have been trained even in hypnosis,
Mm-hmm.
to really get some of their patients across
Yeah.
that level. Um, so one of the things that I want to talk about is I break down our industry into three different categories, right? And I break it down into prevention, early detection, and
Mm-hmm.
treatment and intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to take those three and give
Okay.
me what would be your top thing for prevention, your top
Mm-hmm.
thing for early detection, and then
Mm-hmm.
your top thing for treatment intervention. And I know there's a
Mm.
lot,
Oh yeah.
So, but you as a medical provider,
Yeah.
as a practitioner, like when I say prevention, what would be the one thing that you say, hey, you must do this?
Mm. With prevention, I mean, we know so much about how stress is a silent killer. And I think that working on your nervous system and learning how to become resilient to the world around you is so key, because your nervous system affects everything in your body. It affects your gut, it affects your brain, it affects your heart, it affects your all your organs. And I've found that working with patients, if they're wired and they're constantly in a stressed out state, their body can't relax and heal.
Right,
So to prevent future issues, I would say you got to start with the nervous system. And part of the nervous system being in this fight or flight state might be that they're eating a lot of sugar, or that they're eating a lot of processed foods or red dyes, or these things that are preventing their body from calming down. So they feel this like worked up state. So I do think it is important to eat healthy, and what you consume will dictate your genetic makeup.
yeah.
It will affect your genes. And so I would say like nervous system and eating healthy are probably like the main things I
Do
would
you
focus
do you
on.
do anything like a for the nervous system, like the vagus nerve type of reset,
Yeah,
with stimulation.
there's ways to stimulate that. I mean, you
Yeah,
can get the devices where you can put them on your neck and
yeah,
stimulate your vagus nerve, but even just from a free perspective, I mean, even
right.
humming and singing is very calming for the nervous system and the vagus nerve.
Can you show
Um,
us what that's like?
Mm.
I like that.
So, and
Mm,
vagal toning in that regard is really helpful. Doing different neck stretches, meditation, yoga, stretching your body, calming down before you eat, taking deep breaths.
right.
Those are things that can calm your nervous system over time. But then also, you got to be consistent with it. And these are tools, these are things that might be challenging in the beginning, especially if somebody's very stressed out. But just with practice, it starts to become a routine in their life, and it just gets easier with time.
Yeah.
But it keeps them centered.
So, all right. So that's prevention,
So that's prevention,
early detection.
early detection, early detection of disease
Yeah,
or
of you getting sick.
of you getting sick. I would say if you're starting to get sick more frequently, that's a sign that you got to slow down and take care of yourself. Because if you're constantly running and running and running, you're going to push your body over the edge and it will have no choice but to get sick to force you to slow down.
Right.
And so that's actually something that my grandfather taught me very young is said if you're getting sick more frequently, it means your immune system is taxed and it's more vulnerable to diseases.
Mm.
And so if you are having a cough frequently, if you're always the one getting sick when it's flu season, or you can't handle or you're very sensitive to environmental toxins, that's a sign that your body is already overwhelmed. And so that's might be a sign of early detection of other problems that might be on the horizon.
Time to slow down, right?
Time to slow down.
Yeah. Okay. So now treatment intervention, which treatment
Mhm.
intervention can be, really
Yeah.
anything. It can be food also,
Yeah. I mean, food, obviously, I think that's a given, but I think sleep. Sleep is where the magic happens. That's when your body has time to rest and recover. It's when your brain is using its lymphatic system
Do
to
you track your sleep? You wear
detoxify.
Oura Ring or anything?
I was wearing a Apple Watch for a while, but I try to eliminate EMFs as much as I
Okay.
can. I was wearing it for like 5 years, and I just was like, "What am I wearing this actually for?" And I decided to take it off one day, just like intuitively, my body was like, "Yeah, we're good." And then I actually been sleeping better, which is
Really?
surprising. But I actually use this app called Sleep Timer, and I set it before I go to bed, and I can put it's like a multiple choice questionnaire where you can say, oh, I drank coffee today, or I worked out, or I meditated, or I took a nap, or and there's different ways you can track to see how your sleep's getting affected, and it'll measure if you are in REM sleep for a certain amount of time. If you have deep sleep, it'll record if you're snoring or sleep
Oh,
talking,
wow.
which is very interesting. If you've never actually witnessed yourself sleeping, you might find out some things you didn't know
Do you
about
sleep
yourself.
talk?
I think sometimes I'll sing and I in my sleep.
Oh, wow.
Or a hum. I think I picked that up last week. I was like, "Huh, that's interesting."
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but it also is very important to know if you are snoring, that can affect the quality of your sleep,
Yeah,
and it might indicate an issue with breathing in your sleep. Might need to get a CPAP or a sleep test and other things. So yeah, I think sleep's really important.
I agree. I
Mhm.
agree. So, one of the things that I read about you is that you help women reconnect with themselves.
Mhm.
You like to work with women primarily, right? Because you could connect with them?
Yeah, I work with men and women. I think I can help both people, but I feel like I can connect more with
Of
women
course.
because I'm a woman.
Yeah,
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 point blank.
100%.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you do that? How do you make them reconnect with themselves?
Yeah. So part of what I decided to do when I became an independent contractor as a PA and started my own business in this health and life coaching field is I created a detox program. And I think at first it sounds like, oh, you open up the drainage pathways, you eliminate toxins, parasites, things like that, which is true. But more importantly, we're detoxing or eliminating the things that get in the way of us being our true self. And so when I say I help people come home to themselves and connect with their true selves, it's bringing awareness to all the ways in which they haven't been true to themselves. And what I mentioned earlier about how health is not just about having a healthy body, it's about how do you live a fulfilling life.
Right.
I think that that really comes to being in your most authentic essence. And as we're starting to learn and know about the vibrations and energy, is that most people think love is the highest vibration, but it's actually authenticity.
Mm.
And so, knowing that,
What does authenticity mean to you? What's the definition of that?
yeah, I don't know the Webster's dictionary
No, like
definition off
your
the top of my head,
definition.
but I think my audition, my definition of authenticity would be being in congruency with your thoughts, words, feelings, and actions. And as cliche as it might sound when people say you feel like you can go to sleep happy or feeling okay with the decisions that you've made that day, and as long as it's incongruent with what you feel and believe is true to you. And that can look like a lot of different things. But I think when it comes down to it, it's, are you able to walk into any room and you're the same person?
Mm.
Are you changing who you are to mold or shift to your environment, or are you the one that's the change maker?
Oh wow, that's deep. So
Yeah.
so what's the opposite of authentic?
Inauthentic. So that would be where you have no idea who you are, you're unsure of yourself, you're the one that will morph into the crowd and kind of blend in and mimic to fit in,
Pretentious?
essentially. That could be
That could
it.
fall
That could
under that
fall into
umbrella?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that being authentic at the core feels really good because we feel seen and heard.
Right.
And so many people want that. They want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to feel loved for who they are.
Yeah.
And if people feel like they don't love themselves for who they are, then it's almost impossible for them to go out into the world and feel like other people will. And so how I help people with that is I help people to reframe their relationship with themselves and realize that you are worthy of being exactly as you are. You know, you might express a part of you that other people might not like, but that's okay
Right.
because you're being you and you'll find the right people. And the more authentic you are, the world around you will just shift
Yeah.
instead of you shifting to fit into the world around you.
Right.
And if we're talking about energy and frequency again, the more higher vibrational you become, that creates your reality. And so many people these days are talking about manifestation and living the life of your dreams and that you desire. And that comes from being true to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think through my own experience, I mean, I've spent way too many years of my life as a young girl trying to fit in and trying to be liked and accepted. And part of that was culturally. It was where I was raised, and
Yeah.
I was in a bubble. I was raised in a kind of materialistic bubble of people always trying to judge and fit in to the crowd and be popular. And something about that rubbed me the wrong way, but I felt like I needed to conform to that. But over the years of realizing that I was always trying to prove myself, I realized I didn't have to.
Right.
I didn't have to prove
And you're
myself.
right. You attract it when you're authentic, you attract the similar like-minded type of
Mhm.
individuals.
Yeah.
And I've seen that.
Mhm.
It's when I first got into the industry, I kind of like had to kind of like conform to other people because I was kind of like
Yeah.
new, I was young, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna be me. I'm gonna like
Mhm.
do whatever I want. I'm gonna dress however I want. I'm gonna talk however I want. I'm gonna like
Mhm.
just be out here of who I am because I know what my purpose is,
Yeah.
right? And if I'm authentic and act on my purpose, I'll just bring the right people, and the people who don't like it, they'll just kind of see they'll just gravitate out of my
Right.
life. So
Yeah.
I like that.
I have a question for you actually.
Oh boy,
so
I never get interviewed, but I'm
So
ready.
so so this is a question that I've started to ask people who I interview in Katie in the Kitchen series is, in a world that's forcing us to conform, how do you stay true to yourself?
um. It falls back to being authentic, right?
Mhm.
Um, Staying true to myself is just number one. Uh, I'm a believer, right?
Mhm.
So I always go back to Christianity, and if it doesn't align to my values and the morals that fall under my Christian beliefs, then I just won't mess with it. You know.
Yeah.
So there's a very strong spirituality component to it, and that's how I stay true to myself because that's what I follow.
Yeah.
You know.
It's awesome.
Was that a
I
good answer?
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
awesome. I like
Yeah,
it.
God is always first,
100%.
and that's what I believe as well.
Yeah. Um, Thank you.
Mhm.
I like that. So, what are some common myths about the functional medicine space?
Mm,
I know you get them a lot.
yeah, I think that that's actually a hard question. I think that when you say myths, do you mean false accusations
We could go
about
with that.
functional
Hmm.
medicine? I would say people a lot of people say that functional medicine doesn't really work, or like, I don't know, actually. I don't know how to answer that. Um,
I think that is like one of them. Like
yeah.
recently, this last week, I had this like fourth year medical student
Mhm.
who's got something out for like biohackers, and
Yeah.
she's like always trashing them.
Yeah.
She got a hold of my page, and she started like I posted something about you should
Yeah.
measure your blood work and stuff,
Mhm.
and then she wrote something on there like that's dangerous, and like then started
Yeah.
reposting stuff on her page,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I don't like that. Like,
Yeah.
like you're trying to say that what we're doing is like false.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, yo, take it down. If
Yeah.
not, you're messing with the wrong person. I'm not one of these
Mhm.
doctors that doesn't understand the
Right.
world of social media and everything
Yeah.
else. And she didn't, and she got a little nasty. So I thought I was like, okay, well, we'll see how this works. And I actually literally contacted UW Miami,
Mm.
the dean's office, and I told them, I said, look, this is how your medical student is
Mhm.
behaving, wearing your uniform, this, that, which doesn't fall under your code of conduct. And they took that very seriously. So she ended up blocking me. So who
Oh.
knows what
Eh.
ended up happening with that. But these are things that
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
where what we're doing, there is science behind what we're doing in the
Mhm.
functional medicine space. And the science is getting stronger and stronger,
Yeah, that
behind it.
actually that's not to interrupt. That would be the answer that I would say of so many people say, "Well, where's the research behind this?" or "This is newer, it hasn't been backed up. How can you prove that?" Especially with things that haven't been researched or there's no funding for it. Like even with stem cell therapy, there's a lot of research, but there's not enough for where the FDA is going to approve it. But actually don't know if we want it to be approved by the FDA because
Right.
then they start controlling it. So, but anyway, yeah.
But the thing is like this is a thing with functional medicine. What we're doing is precision and
Mhm.
it's personalized to the individual.
Right.
So when you take this bucket of 100 people or whatever, and they're
Mhm.
giving you an average of how this should work for a
Mhm.
human, right? There's so many other factors that go into play when it comes to if this is going to work for an individual or not,
Ah,
right?
absolutely.
So what we're doing is we're working based off of objective data on the actual person, right?
Mhm.
So we are doing blood work. We're doing genetic testing. We're looking at all of the different type of scans. We're doing full body MRIs. We're doing DEXA scans,
Mhm.
VO2 max. You name it, the list
Yeah.
goes on. So we have things to be able to track if this is working, not just subjective data, but we have objective data to show that it's working.
Right.
So for me, when I say there's science behind it, it's not just, oh, there's been a clinical research. I'm talking about what's working for this person, this
Yeah.
individual, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is a personalized thing because we are all unique,
Right.
and not just genetically but also spiritually and emotionally and mentally. I mean, for there to be, I think, what is it now, 8 billion people, 7 or 8 billion people
It's
in the
up
world,
there.
it's something
The
like that.
number's going bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
We're going to Mars.
yeah, just think about how many unique personalities there are and how many unique combinations of every aspect of human life. And so how can you then expect medical treatment to be so cookie cutter? You
Yeah.
just can't. And I think that for the medical field, especially in the Western medicine, I think there is some merit and benefit to having standardization, and just for that, so that different practitioners can communicate with each other of, oh, this is a patient with heart disease, liver disease, kidney cancer, all these different things. So that way it's like, oh, okay, I have an idea of where this practitioner has assessed the patient to figure these things out. this is how I can handle the patient going forward, or there's just a specific language and a way of communicating between practitioner in the medical team.
Right.
And I think that there's value to that. However, I think that it went too far so much as to label people with these diseases. And we know how powerful words are and labels are. And that's the other thing that I found was a struggle with patients who have all these labels of diseases is they start to become those labels
Right.
and they personalize it. And that makes it so much harder for them to let it go. And part of the detox process that I take people through is to help them really identify, like, who are you beyond anything you've ever been told by other people about yourself. And for a lot of people, that is a wake up call because they never thought about it that way. And the mind is so powerful over the body, and what we think and what we believe becomes our reality and becomes our truth. And so there's a lot that can go into that as far as how whether somebody's going to be healthy or not.
So, and I want for the listeners and viewers to understand, like, we're not just talking about a detox process where you're taking things that are activating and
Yeah,
making it free radical
binders
and
and
binders.
stuff and
This is like you're
anti-parasites, yeah.
detoxing the mind,
Oh,
these
yeah.
thoughts, right?
Mhm.
Which I think that's actually the first step before
Yeah,
anything else.
yeah,
So, um, Katie, energetic healing, how
yeah.
important is that for women that are experiencing burnout?
Oh gosh, it's the essence of everything. I mean, we are energetic beings at the core. And so I think that if we're talking about energy, like, oh, I feel low or high energy, it makes a difference when it comes to burnout for sure because where are you putting your energy? Are you engaging with energy takers or energy givers?
Right.
And that could be toxic relationship. The energy takers could be toxic relationships. That could be watching TV, scrolling on social media. That could be people pleasing. That could be I'm in a job that sucks the life out of me because I'm out of my purpose.
Right.
There's
Right.
so many
Yeah.
things that can contribute to that. And then on the other side, energy givers. Am I standing in my truth? Am I going outside? Am I exercising? Am I getting sunlight? Am I able to have a hard conversation and set a boundary? Am I feeding myself good, positive thoughts? Am I surrounding myself with uplifting people? And so, energy plays a huge role in burnout, but also just living a good, healthy life,
Yeah.
too.
What do you do
Yeah.
about those energy suckers?
I
You
say get
personally.
away. um, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody recently. I think it was in my NLP training, and the facilitator was talking about the study that they did with heart cells. And they were talking about in a petri dish, they put different heart cells, and they were trying to understand how they all sunk up together. And they were determining how did the heart cells all know what to do to sync up and beat together. And they found that the lead heart cell, the highest vibrational heart cell in that petri dish, was the one that dictated the beats of all the others. And
Mm,
so when it comes to surrounding yourself with good people, there's a big lesson there. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, if you want to be a leader, you got to be that lead heart cell. And
mm,
so you can be around all these toxic people, but if you stand strong in who you are and you have such a high vibration, the other heart cells, for example, or the other people around you have no other choice than to start to match your energy. So how
right.
can you be that light in the
I
darkness?
love that. Hit the chicken over there. I love that. Now, I always say
Yeah.
that, and the reason why I wanted him to hit the chicken because I really do believe that that's how most people need to think
Hmm.
is put themselves in that leadership role, be
Yeah.
powerful enough to be in a toxic environment,
Mhm.
right? As a healer, which you are, um, you have to be able to guide people in the right
Yeah.
direction. So, I hear a lot of people that are very influential that say, "Oh, if people are going out on this yacht and they're doing, drugs instead, I'm not going there because I don't want to be in a world of temptation." I get it, but you should be strong enough that you could go there, not have to engage in it, and be the light for all of those other people where they
Mhm.
see you and say, "Man, Sam's not doing any of this stuff, and he's a pretty cool dude. Like, man, I should probably like hang out with him more often to figure out, instead of these other people." And I feel like more people have to step in that path, go down that
Mhm.
path, where you
Right.
can be strong enough and be around toxic people, people that are doing things that are not good for their health, not good for the
Mhm.
mind, and be the light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we know we live in a toxic world. It's is more now more than ever are we exposed to all these toxins around us, toxic people, evil energy. I
Right.
mean, we're in a spiritual warfare right now with the good and evil, I feel. And that also environmentally, I mean, the food that we're eating, all the processed foods and all of the chemicals and the pesticides and herbicides and everything we're exposed to and the pollutants, how do we survive? Do we hide ourselves into a cave and prevent and close ourselves off where we're never exposed to these things? Or do we become resilient? And so part of my program as well is teaching how to build resiliency because we are going to be exposed to these things.
Right.
It's not about shying away, it's how do you support yourself to be able to withstand the chaos and the turmoil of life and not crumble and not just become a pile of
Yeah.
mess. And so the same thing goes for when you're around people that are toxic. You can choose how people make you feel. You can choose whether somebody's going to affect you or not. And I think that so often, like you said, people choose not to put themselves in that environment. And yeah, that's helpful, but is that realistic all the time? And we can't control our environment all the time, but what we can control is ourselves and how we handle it and how we show up. And so that's why I think it's extra important to be connected to your truth and really be solid in that. Because the more solid and connected you are with your true self, the harder it is for anything to affect you.
Yeah.
Become resilient, you become like superhuman. And if we
Superhuman.
talk about longevity and biohacking and becoming superhumans, that is a key component that I believe really makes a difference and it distinguishes you from being a leader and a follower. And if we're all in this together to make the world a better place, we need more leaders. We need more lead heart cells. We need more people that really believe in and stay strong and stay true to who they are
I agree.
and come together. So lead
Absolutely.
by example.
I love that. You were talking about some of the toxic food.
Yeah.
So there's a big movement that's
Hmm.
happening right now, the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, um, which is obviously being led by RFK Jr. What are your thoughts? What do you think about what RFK Jr. is doing? And what do you think about this whole MAHA movement?
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. I think it's long overdue. I think that for so long, the government has been focused on convenience and spraying all these herbicides and pesticides and creating processed foods for convenience and overconsumption and things like that. And I love what he's promoting and the ways that he's already changed, like the fluoride in the water and banning certain dyes and things like that. And there's so much growth that's needed to be done, but we're in the right direction, and that's helps me to feel like I can exhale. And I think that there's so many people who are stepping in and stepping up to support the movement and actually make change happen. I'm grateful for those people, and I want to be a part of it as much as I can be.
Amazing. Amazing. So, Katie, what I'm going to do now, this is, we're going to have a little fun,
Okay.
right?
Are we not
Um,
having fun already?
oh, we're going to have more fun.
Okay.
So, um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to name a biohacker,
Okay.
and you have to say one word that comes to mind that describes that biohacker.
Okay.
It can be good or bad. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just be you, be authentic.
Be authentic. All right. Can do that.
Joe Dispenza,
Meditation.
Peter Otia,
The brain.
Ben Greenfield,
Strength.
Gary Brecka,
Breathing.
Brian Johnson.
Superhuman.
Superhuman. That's a good one for that one. Dave Asprey. Did I say that one right?
No,
No.
not yet. I think of that gecko thing that he talks about, the thing that can regenerate its limbs and whatnot. Do
I
you
don't even
remember?
know which one that is.
Anybody know that? There's a specific. I want to say it's a reptile. I don't know the name of it. That's just it's his emblem sign.
Oh, I do always see that,
You
but I
know,
didn't
it's
know.
some gecko reptilian thing that
Oh,
can
now you're gonna make
regenerate
me
its
actually
limbs and
look into this thing.
yeah. Anyway, that's what I think of.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever that word
Now I'm
is.
gonna start thinking about that every time I think about Dave Asprey.
Good. Yeah.
Awesome. So those were it. You know.
Okay.
So the next thing we're gonna do is so I one of my favorite podcasts to watch besides
Mhm.
my own
Mhm.
is the guy's named Stephen Bartlett. It's called The Diary of a CEO,
Mhm,
right? He's got one of the top podcasts that are out there. And he came out with these cool conversation cards right here.
mhm.
I just got it the other day, so you're the first that I'm doing it on the podcast.
Love it.
So I'm gonna allow you to just open this up. It kind of stands like that,
Okay.
and then you're gonna pick two cards,
Okay.
and those are gonna be your questions.
And I'm asking you
Oh no,
or for me?
these
Oh,
are for
for
you.
me. Okay. It's like tarot cards.
Tell me my future.
Ooh, who is the person who first believed in you? I'd say my mom.
Your mom.
Yeah. She's one of my biggest fans. She will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that I'm okay. And she'll call me as many times as she can. She'll check in with me. She'll say, "Are you okay? Are you doing good?" Um, and I'm grateful for that. I think moms are a blessing, and I'm grateful that I have such a strong, supportive one in my life. And hopefully, she's around for a long time.
I love it.
All right. Ooh, how will you control your own greed? It's very off topic. Man. Gratitude.
Oof, gratitude.
Always being grateful for everything. And I think as long as I can maintain that perspective of seeing everything through the lens of gratitude, I don't think that greed could ever touch me. I think it's natural for us as humans, as sinners in nature, to have greed. I think it's one of the seven deadly sins. And so it's not, so I think it's a matter of staying in that zone of gratitude.
I like that. Let's
Yeah.
do one more.
Okay. Why not?
You're good at this.
Third's the charm. Thanks. What is your biggest regret? And if you could go back, what would you do differently?
Oh boy.
Getting real vulnerable here. But if I'm being authentic, um, biggest regret.
Don't hold back.
I would say asking for help sooner.
Mm,
I think that I've had a tendency to believe that I can do more and handle more than I think I can. And I've I'm grateful that I've pushed myself to be very independent, but I think that sometimes that came to a fault because I didn't know how to ask for help when I needed it. And I thought that I had to figure it out on my own. And there were many nights, many days of feeling lonely and lost and suffering, especially when it came to medical field or when it came to deciding who I wanted to be. And that put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect for what it's worth. And I think that if I had just asked for help uh, earlier, I think I would have saved myself from a lot of suffering.
amazing. Amazing. I
Can't
love
do
it.
this. We can't do Earth alone. We need
Yeah,
community. Yeah.
100%.
Can
I
I
agree.
ask you one?
Yeah, let's do it. For some reason, I knew you were gonna do that.
Oh, okay.
Oh
What is
boy.
your selfish dream?
Oh, selfish dream. Gosh, selfish dream. You know, my dream. I'm really living my dream right now.
Hmm.
But if I had to look at the bigger dream of me, like you know,
Really selfish, like just for you.
I mean, one day I want to win the lottery.
Hmm,
Like I play the Powerball. I've been playing the same number since I was 18 every single game.
really?
Yeah. And
Hmm.
I do believe that I'm gonna win it one day.
Mhm.
And I feel like I know what I'm gonna do with that money. And it's
Mm.
not going out and just spending it on all this expensive stuff. Like the reason why I haven't won that lottery just yet is that God is preparing me to be ready against the big fight. Because with the amount of money that I win and what I know operationally in business on what to be able to do with that money,
Mhm.
we're going to do some damage in this world of medicine. I mean,
Mm.
it's going to be incredible with the people I know.
Yeah.
If I have that funding to fuel it at that level, um, that's a selfish thing that I'm going to be doing. And there's going to be so many of us that are just going to change the course of medicine. So
Mm.
yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds exciting.
So
Doesn't seem so selfish.
Oh, it will be. It will be. I will be front and center,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
obviously, they're gonna probably try to take my head off, so I gotta have security and all this other
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
so but
Yeah,
yeah.
you'll be protected. You got God. You're
Yeah,
good.
exactly, exactly.
Good.
So, Katie, as we wrap up here, if there's one person who's listening or watching this podcast that really resonates with today's message, it could be one of our thousands of medical providers that are listening, that are, tuning in, or it could just be one of the patients that we have that's tuning in. What's one thing you can leave them off with?
Man, I would say with the theme of authenticity, I would encourage anyone who's listening to listen to that inner voice inside of you that says, there's something else, or there's something more, or there's something that I can go deeper with. And a practice that I love to use is every day, spending a couple minutes, doesn't have to be that long, putting a hand on a heart and just connecting with yourself and asking, what does my soul need to tell me today? How am I feeling actually? And if there's any emotion that needs to be moved, any intuitive download, thought, feeling, like anything that comes up, really listen to that because you are your own best healer. You are the truth is within you already. And with the world being with all this information at our fingertips, then forget to learn how to trust ourselves. And if you feel something inside that you want to do differently, feel differently, express differently, trust that, listen to it, because it will serve you and save you so much time and energy and headaches going the wrong path. I heard this quote one time that really resonated with me was if you get on the wrong train, it's more expensive the longer you wait to get off.
Mm,
And so, yeah, I would say that.
I love it. I love it. So, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram. That's probably the best way at by Catherine Ruffino with the C, Catherine with the C, Katie with the K. By Catherine Ruffino. I'm also on YouTube at Purely Seen. I have a website, sunnysidekt.com. And yeah, you can message me on platforms. I also sing on TikTok. So it's at Sunnyside Katie, KT as well on there
Amazing.
if you want to watch me live sometime.
Amazing. Katie, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
I
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Amazing. Guys, you heard Katie. You have to be your true self. You have to live a life with purpose. It's extremely important that you do. You don't want to be inauthentic. You want to be authentic, right? You have to live a life with that. And being authentic, I'm trying to use other big words, but what I'm trying to get to here is Katie tapped into certain things that all of us are guilty of, right? Um, there's a process that she's an expert in where you go through a process where you have the ability to detox a lot of those bad thoughts. So there's a starting point, guys. Make sure that you take a deeper dive into what Katie is doing so you can kind of understand what her process is. Right? Go on her website, go on her social media. You're going to learn a heck of a lot more. She's very active online. She's always sharing content. And, she lives her life through purpose to make sure that she can help all of us and get this message out to the masses. So, guys, make sure you subscribe, follow, share this with all of your friends and family, and we'll see you for the next one.